Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and it's time to talk about the Resident Evil 4 remake, which I gotta let you guys know, I am incredibly excited for. But I do have some concerns. I feel like I should go ahead and throw those out there, put them out for the world to see. That way they're actually addressed and we're not blinded by our love for the original and the fact that we're so excited for a next-gen remake. Resident Evil is my favorite gaming franchise of all time. Needless to say, the Resident Evil 4 and the remake of Resident Evil 1 are my favorites in the series. So I'm going into this cautiously optimistic, but there have already been multiple things worth noting that I think we should talk about. Number one of those being the AI. Now this could have just been in the demo, could have just been my experience. While the AI is more aggressive than the original when they notice you, when they're attacking you, I won't lie, they actually seem dumber. There were multiple occasions, at least 2 occasions I counted in multiple playthroughs of this demo, where I crashed through a window right next to a Ganado, and they didn't react to me, so they didn't know I was there, since I hadn't put the village on high alert yet, and didn't actually respond to me until I tagged her with the handgun. At that point, in the original Resident Evil 4, you jump through a window, that gets the alert of the villagers, and I thought it was incredibly strange that on 2 separate instances I would jump through a window before they were activated, before they were, aroused to my position, and they didn't even react. I was standing right next to her. The shattering glass did not make the individual react, and then I shot her, and that's what set the town on high alert. I'm hoping that's just a demo thing, but I am wondering if the AI is going to, even though they're more aggressive, technically be dumber than the original. And this might just be a me thing, but Leon looks too young. I mean, I get it in Resident Evil 2 Remake, he is 21. This is 6 years later. He's still got the same boyish rookie look to him. His face hasn't hardened. Now, I don't know how much you know about men and how they grow, but he's 27, almost 30 years old by the time of RE4. That's a pretty massive change. Individuals, when they're 21 to 27, their face actually goes through a notable change. There's a bit more hardening. So for Leon still to look like he is this young rookie, I'm just having trouble believing that this is the same Leon that we have in the original version of RE4. He still looks like a kid, and it does seem like they're really trying to drive home that he is young, because it shows him in the intro training with a much older Krauser, who is his superior officer. Now, I wouldn't normally be against the age difference between him and Krauser, because I actually think that could be a cool dynamic if it didn't contradict canon. When you're trying to find Manuela, Javier Hidalgo, that is canon, and it very much goes out of its way to show that that is Leon and Krauser's first interaction with one another, and spoiler alert if you haven't played that storyline, Krauser gets injured and infected at the end of it, and he's taken out of commission. So the fact that that mission is their first together, it's their first time truly meeting each other, we've got some canon contradictions. Does this render Darkside Chronicles non-canon? I'm a bit concerned. I'm not necessarily sure I like this change, and I don't like the idea that the Resident Evil creators are not paying attention to their past lore in favor of giving us new cool visuals and elements for a remake. I'm sorry, I like my canon as is. This doesn't seem like a necessary change when if you wanted to have the established relationship between Krauser and Leon, they could have just done full upscaled, ground-up graphical remakes of some of their interactions in Darkside Chronicles. Not only would that keep the canon consistent, but it would re-solidify how important of a case that was, because it only happened in 2002 in Game Universe. Leon had just been a survivor of Raccoon City for about 4 years. We could have gotten the younger version of Leon prior to his Resident Evil 4 escapades that makes sense that he was still a rookie, still trying to figure stuff out, and, the Krauser expertise, Major Krauser could have come into play then, and it not completely violated canon. So it is a very strange change to make, and it's one that has me worried for the future of RE. If these remakes keep coming out, how much of the canon are they going to contradict for spin-off games, which, albeit they're spin-offs, were still canon and expanded the world. This is just a minor thing, a nitpick. I do not like the new 180-degree turn. The 180-degree turn has had the same control scheme, the same buttons to hit to do the 180-degree turn since Resident Evil 3 on the PS1. The change now is baffling. Maybe it's just a muscle memory thing for me, because for 20 years I've been doing it the same way. But why fix what ain't broken? And then when we're going back to the story, here's where the biggest issues I'm having are going to be with the story stuff. Not only the canon with Krauser, the knife fight, having Krauser be his superior, but the opening cabin where you fight the hunter. Now, this is really spoilers, by the way. All of this is in the trailer or in the demo, so, you're free to hear this. The cabin gives Leon clues to Ashley's whereabouts. Now, we know the Los Illuminados have a hierarchy. They're rather intelligent. Why would just some random Ganado hunter have all this information about Ashley's whereabouts? in the cabin. In the original, Leon needed to gather information as the game progressed to find out. He didn't just get that info in the opening cabin. This just seems like some random Ganado dude. He's not a high up in the Los Illuminados. He's not one of the like cult acolytes or anything to that. Why does he have these detailed plans in his cabin? How instrumental was he in the Ashley stuff? Since we all know, since you've played the original, I'm sure, that Krauser is the one that has kidnapped Ashley. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It seems like it's just there for cinematic purposes, to show off the code names, to give you how Hunnigan looks, but it doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense to me. And then when it comes to additional story changes beyond that, yes, we know they're changing the story, which changing the story as a whole isn't bad if they're able to improve upon it. My worry is that they won't be able to, because we have seen changes to the Resident Evil 4 story already. Or not really the story, but the dialogue, the gameplay. When Resident Evil 4 came out in VR, there was a couple of notable changes, namely in dialogue between Lewis and Ashley Graham, and between Leon and Hunnigan, due to the sexist nature of the dialogue that was being had. Obviously, complete crap. They took out lines such as this.
I see that the president's equipped his daughter with ballistics, too.
How rude! And I don't believe there's any relevance with my figure and my standing.
And this.
Hey, Hunnigan, no glasses.
Forget the glasses. What's the status of the mission?
I've rescued the subject. We're returning home.
You did it, Leon.
Thanks. You know, you're kind of cute without those glasses. Give me your number when I get back.
May I remind you that you're still on duty?
Story of my life.
And of course, we've got articles like this talking about how we can't look up Ashley's skirt anymore. Now, the skirt thing, look, at the end of the day, it's kind of a hokey little joke that you're able to do it. It's not like you can see anything. She screams pervert, and it's a joke. It's literally just a light-hearted comedic moment while you're in this fast-paced action horror game. I don't think them removing that should have been a priority, because at the end of the day, these are still very cheesy games. Resident Evil is an inherently cheesy sci-fi horror concept, very akin to 1960s horror movies. So taking that out of there, what I can only assume is to not upset the West. That way they're not called sexist. That way they're not called all these negative things, so there's not a bad press. I don't think that's a healthy move, and since they've already removed some of this dialogue from the remake, the VR remake of the original Resident Evil 4, who's to say that it's not going to be completely gone and removed from this version of Resident Evil 4 as well, which, again, I just don't think is healthy. I don't think that removing dialogue that has any sort of sexual connotation, even if it is, you know, jokingly misogynistic or whatnot, it removes core aspects of who the characters were, and it just goes to show that people don't care enough about nuance and context and jokes and censorship. Resident Evil has always had a bit of fan service. Let's take a look at some of these alternate costumes when you beat the game over previous years. And now let's take a look at Ashley's new outfits for when you beat the game. Yeah, gone are the days of the fairy tale fan service kind of cleavage showing special outfits you can run through the game with that were completely implausible and didn't make sense story-wise, but it's a fun little post-game, hey, you've beaten it, go through and have fun. Now, these are just, they're very conservative, very much don't have any sort of sexualization to them. They're just different costumes. It doesn't really feel like it would be super rewarding to earn these costumes, because Ashley could have looked like this to begin with. I mean, they would have upset the fans by completely changing her design, but this is just, it's an emo girl. It is a Twitch e-girl right here. That's what that outfit is. And so yeah, the idea of removing the sexualization, it just screams, we don't want to get in trouble with the West. We're going to self-censor because we don't want the backlash that will come from Twitter when the game comes out. I'm sorry, that's not a good enough reason to make changes, in my opinion at least. They also removed the female Ganado that was spiked into the wall with a pitchfork in the original. Now, this was only removed, it's not in the demo. That does not mean it won't be there in a final cut. Maybe it'll be just in a different location, but it goes back to the censorship thing. They don't want you to see the body of a female spiked through the head, where Leon makes the comment that there's no sex discrimination in this land, which is actually a very progressive comment. It's strange that they would remove that, but of course you're going to have some very angry individuals on Twitter if they see a female Ganado out a spike through the head into some boards. But again, I'm not entirely confident that that's completely cut. It could have just been moved to a later period or just not there in the demo. So that's up to debate. But if it is completely cut, well, let's be honest, we know the reason. Self-censorship due to fear of Twitter. And this is a big deal for, Japan, because they were kind of the last bastions of anti-censorship, so once they're starting to get infected by this, it will have me worried for the future going forward, the future of Japanese video games, the future of Resident Evil, the future of anime, because if there's anywhere that fans like us could go to get our fix for uncensored, fun, campy, trope-filled crap, it was Japanese productions, but it almost seems like even that era is gone. All in all, I'm not lambasting this game. I'm still very excited for it. I'm cautiously optimistic. When this was very first announced a couple years ago, or at least rumored, I was diehard anti this game's existence. Because to me, Resident Evil 4 is already perfect. You can't remake something that's perfect, because how do you improve upon perfection? I was 0% okay with this remake. And as time has come, we've gotten new videos, we've gotten new visuals, we've gotten the demo. I'm about 70% on board with this remake. To go from 0% to 70% is a massive leap. So I'm not just here hating, for hating's sake. I'm cautiously optimistic, and I genuinely do hope that I'm wrong about many of these concerns, that this comes out and it eclipses the original Resident Evil 4. I genuinely don't think that's possible. You can probably name on one hand how many times remakes are better than the original, but anything is possible. I just think that maybe Code Veronica still should have gotten this treatment before Resident Evil 4 did, considering the original still holds up. I don't know if you guys have played it lately, but it absolutely holds up. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or you can let me know on Twitter, where you can follow me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. Just got over that 600 subscriber mark, which is incredible. I can't thank you guys enough. I'd love to get that number even higher. I do nerdy news every day, whether it be video games, Marvel comics, comics in general, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, Disney, you name it. It's all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.